Welcome to our group today. I'm so glad everybody came today.
They may come from different backgrounds, but these children have something in common. They're all grieving over the loss of a loved one.
Grief touches everyone, and instead of just going on and ignoring it and acting like that it doesn't happen, we really wanted to develop a place for our community where people could come and grieve in a safe place.
That safe place is the Baptist Trinity Center for Good Grief, the Mid-South's first comprehensive bereavement center for children, teens, and adults.
Hey, Brianna. Good to see you today.
The center offers services free of charge. Here, grieving people of all ages find the support they need as they move through the difficult process of healing.
There are so many emotions involved in the experience of grief that you can't name one, you can't set a timetable on it, you can't describe it as a certain set of patterns, how someone will go through grief. It's more like a roller coaster or a storm. It's not definable.
Caring professional social workers staff the center. They understand each person deals with grief in his or her own way. That's why grief support is available individually or through a group process.
The group process is something that we do depend on in helping families in grief. Parents in one group, teenagers in another group, two children groups running simultaneously on the same evening so that the whole family comes to one place for 1 hour to feel support.
An infant and toddler, they don't have the language skills to say, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling angry or frustrated. Instead, they'll show us those feelings. So you have to approach their grief through play.
Now what is she? Sad.
Through that play, that child is able to express maybe what's going on.
Today we're going to talk about the different feelings that we have when we're grieving.
And then older children, they aren't learning those language skills, but they need to be in a safe environment.
An environment where bereavement specialists discover the emotional needs of children in unique ways.
We do a variety of art activities. There's a feelings pizza, which children can create. Each ingredient represents a feeling. Pepperoni is anger, mushrooms are sad, cheese is guilt. And they can create their pizza based on what they're feeling.
Do you feel angry sometimes? You do?
Teens have more verbal skills than our younger children, so a lot of times we do things that help them begin talking. Sometimes we'll have sentence starters, a question that might just get them thinking.
Which feelings surrounding the death are the most difficult for you to deal with now?
By opening up about their grief, children and teens, as well as adults, realize they're not the only ones experiencing these emotions. For Carlo and Tanya Van Rantwick, the Center for Good Grief is a true source of comfort for their family. Since the death of their son, Rude, they find themselves dealing with not only the tragedy of losing a child, but also trying to answer some tough questions from their sons, Charlie, Rainier, and little Sydney. Even the joy of expecting another baby is affected by the memory of one who was lost so early in life.
That baby will never know his brother or her brother. And then one day I all of a sudden thought, we will never have a picture from our whole family because there will always be that little part.
Yeah. You find different ways, don't you? You have to find different ways to be a family, a new family.
When you're sad and you're depressed, you think about all the things he couldn't do and we didn't get to do, and that he will never get married, but then you think about the other side, and here they made us really focus on the other side too. You have those memories.
It was just good to get a break. You're caring and thinking about others all the time. Wow. You really need a time sometimes to think about yourself and what you're going through, what you feel.
Knowing that there are others dealing with the same emotions is one of the most important aspects of dealing with grief. That's why counselors here at the center extend that feeling of togetherness beyond these four walls.
Welcome to Camp Good Grief, everybody.
Throughout the year, social workers also organize bereavement camps. Camp Good Grief, Teen Camp Good Grief, and Camp Good Grief for adults.
The camp environment is just a different environment. It's important for people to have fun, A lot of times when people are grieving, they feel very bogged down with their grief. They feel heavy. But we also want to teach them about life and about living that life and balancing it, bringing the fun in and the grief and how to balance all of that, because that is really how they will go on and continue to live a healthy life.
If you don't do it for yourself, then do it for your spouse or your children or whoever's there, so you can still get the most out of life.
People that we meet and encounter, families that we encounter, show us how strong they can be in the face of tragedy, and the children are the same way. They just heal, and it's just a beautiful miracle to see, really.
Sometimes after a death, you feel like hope is gone or hope has left you. And if we can help bring that hope back in someone's life, then I think our job is done.
For Smart Medicine, I'm Rod Starnes.
Joining me now is Family Services Specialist Sarah Newdeck. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. Sure. First off, just tell me what grief is.
Grief is really, in this case, an emotional response to the death of a loved one.
And tell me how people grieve differently. And in that, tell me how people might grieve differently for, say, a child that they lost or a parent that they lost.
Each loss is difficult for somebody, whether it's a child or a parent. Grieving for a child who's been lost is more grieving for the future and what you're not going to see in the future or spend time with them in the future. And grieving for a parent is more grieving for the past and what you've had, your memories.
And tell us about the grief support groups offered by the Center for Good Grief.
We have groups for children, for teens, and for adults. And in the future, we'll also be having a group for parents who have lost children, as well as groups for caregivers, people who are currently caring for somebody who is chronically or terminally ill.
Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.